Allowing 1,000 penises into one vagina in 12 hours is disgusting.
But the more you talk about it, the more it turns me on.
You'd fuck an old man.
Oh yeah, of course I would. Old men deserve sex. I mean, a wife might be dead.
She didn't just break the internet, she used it like a weapon. Bonnie Blue wasn't trying to go viral, she was trying to rewrite what sex, power and marriage meant in 2025. And it worked, until the entire system turned on her. In case you've been living under a Wi-Fi blocking rock, here's what happened. Bonnie Blue, a 26-year-old former mid-tier OnlyFans creator, filmed herself sleeping with 1,000 men. That's not a typo. 1,000 different men, not simulated, not metaphorical. Fully documented, organized and monetized in what she boldly marketed as a social experiment meets performance art. But let's be real, it wasn't hanging in a museum. It was splashed across private subscriptions, invite-only servers, and eventually leaked clips that turned her into a global scandal. What made it explode wasn't just the number, it was the fact that she was married the whole time. And her husband, not just aware, he was filming, managing, and even directing. Allegedly, he even booked the hotel rooms. It was a collaboration, a love story, a brand, until it wasn't. At first, people were obsessed. She branded herself as a community worker and erotic archivist, claiming she was creating a feminist archive of consensual experiences. That line landed her interviews with sex-positive blogs and some small alt podcasts. But then came the Channel 4 documentary, the one that aired everything in graphic, relentless detail. We're talking blurred faces, moaning audio, spreadsheets with scheduling tabs, her husband appearing on camera saying he was emotionally supportive but struggling. The moment the documentary aired, social media went thermonuclear. One half of the internet was calling her the next Marina Abramovich, daring, radical, liberated. The other half, a walking red flag for emotional abuse, spiritual death, and a sex cult disguised as content. But the worst part, people found out some of her partners were allegedly married themselves. Others, barely legal, consenting but just crossing the age line. And then came the Reddit exposés from former partners. Anonymous posts that claimed the experience felt more like being used for numbers or emotionally transactional hookups under a fake healing label. And then OnlyFans pulled the plug. They didn't make a big public announcement. They quietly suspended her account, citing violations of community standards and harmful behavior masquerading as consent-based content. Translation: she crossed the invisible line and now she was being erased. By the time the story hit major outlets, The Sun, Daily Beast, and even indie TikTok deep divers, Bonnie Blue's marriage was already unraveling. Leaked texts showed her husband had filed for divorce, allegedly stating in documents that he was emotionally coerced into an open marriage that turned into humiliation-based branding. One document even claimed the whole experiment became more about money and infamy than any kind of honest relationship agreement. Bonnie's fans rushed to defend her, but the platforms didn't. First it was OnlyFans, then her TikTok got banned, then Instagram shadow banned her name. A verified Twitter account under her name got nuked within 48 hours after the doc aired. No warning, just gone. What started as a shock value project turned into a public spectacle about boundaries, breakdowns, and how far someone can go before the internet collectively says, too much. And the worst was still coming. So here's the part that had even seasoned gossip junkies shook. The divorce wasn't just messy, it was lethal. When Bonnie's husband filed, he didn't go quiet. He went public. Screenshots, voice notes, a full statement to one podcast where he said, quote, "I loved her, I built this with her, but I didn't sign up to be her punching bag while the world watched." He said she gaslit him, that she used consent as a buzzword to justify her emotional sadism. And if that wasn't enough, He claimed that behind the scenes, she was setting up men without telling them they were number 678 or 942 or 999, just another body for the spreadsheet. He called it body count cannibalism. The tabloids lit up, TikTok stitches exploded, and then, boom, came the sex tape leak. Not her curated content, not her paid platform videos. An unedited hotel room clip featuring her with a married public figure, allegedly a minor TikTok influencer from the UK who did not give permission for it to circulate. That was the final nail. It wasn't just Bonnie who got dropped. The influencer lost 2 brand deals within 48 hours. The man's wife filed for separation. And Bonnie, she tried to blame it on unauthorized platform dumps. But let's be real, someone close leaked it, and people think it was her ex. Then she tried to pivot. She went on a live stream, raw, crying, no filter, no makeup, saying she was being silenced, framed, burned alive by people who once applauded her. But by then, her OnlyFans was dead. Her documentary was being flagged for removal, and even former supporters started calling her the new face of consent washing for clicks. Oh, and remember the husband? Yeah, he dropped a teaser for a tell-all podcast series called Married to the Content, and in episode 1, he plays the audio of Bonnie saying, "It's not sex, it's strategy." Let that sink in. And now, before we go any deeper, if you're already clutching your pearls or pouring more tea, hit that like button, drop your opinion in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed to Ms.CathyKnows, because this is just the halfway point. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's still hiding behind the smoke, because upcoming, that's where the story gets worse, weirder, and somehow even more real. Bonnie Blue wasn't just banned, she was digitally ghosted by the very platforms she once ruled. One day she was on the Explore page. The next, her content didn't even show up when you searched her name. Her Reddit threads got locked. OnlyFans wiped her bio clean. Even her Google search traffic dropped, like someone pulled a plug. She started posting through alt accounts. She tried rebuilding her audience with vague trauma posts and cryptic captions like, "You think you know me, but you only watched the trailer." But the internet had already moved on to mocking her. Reaction channels started ranking her downfall alongside Trisha Paytas and Tila Tequila. She wasn't the conversation anymore, she was the cautionary meme. And just when you thought she'd retreat quietly, nope. She launched a reclamation docuseries on a shady video site. Title, 1,000 Men Didn't Break Me, You Did. Each episode was her talking to the camera, no edits, just Bonnie in various Airbnbs crying 1 minute and defending herself the next. At one point, she says, "I offered the world my body as a mirror, and all you did was smash it. But the weirdest part, she tried to monetize the fallout. She sold merch, limited edition t-shirts that said number 999 and counting, hoodies with Content Widow printed across the back. Even offered private coaching on how to reclaim your sexual power after public shame. It flopped hard. People who once praised her for being bold now said she was just addicted to attention. One former collaborator said she never cried after filming, only after not going viral. Even her own sister allegedly went on Instagram Live and said, "Bonnie doesn't need a platform, she needs therapy, a hug, and a fucking lawyer." Meanwhile, the divorce was finalized. Her ex got a quiet settlement and full rights to the podcast they co-founded. The irony? His show blew up because of her story. He got a book deal. She got blocked. And as of now, Bonnie Blue is still online, somewhere, whispering through alt accounts, DMing creators, posting clips of herself staring into the camera like she's daring the world to care again. But the truth is, the world might not. She's become a symbol. To some, she's a feminist martyr. To others, a narcissist with a ring light and a spreadsheet. But no matter how you frame it, she's a reminder. When your entire identity is built on going too far, you better know what happens when the internet decides you finally did. And in Bonnie Blue's case, they didn't just cancel her, they erased her.